welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with...
CJ Luke from the Fired Up with CJ show.
I'm going to say this, CJ, but get that mask down.
I was just running.
If you've ever felt lost, dazed, confused, or untethered during this crazy time, then do we have the Man Search for Meaning show for you. Today we'll talk about finding meaning, helping others, and gaining direction, perhaps now more than ever. That plus we'll talk about cookies and puppies, Caminos again, with signs, going inside, schizoid body type up and down, chocolate chip overdoses, the Inspire Nation core, volunteers coming out of the woodwork, that is, a boot camp on happiness, the Pookster on Fire, and using her degree, daydreaming of skating, smiley face masks, and what in the world, a sunbathing, pregnant, yoga-posing squirrel. How's it doing?
Oh my gosh. Oh, Michael. I can't even keep track of this stuff. Oh my God.
We had a golden mantle squirrel. They look like a bigger version of a chipmunk come out on the deck a few days ago. And the pookster goes, "Oh, she's pregnant. Look at her belly hanging down." It's very clearly very pregnant squirrel. And you know, we've been in this baby making mode for a while. Our work we paused now for the anyway. So the squirrel then does this largest downward dog stretch, lays down, puts its paws out and basking in the sun. And the pookster goes, "I want that."
Oh. That is too cute. Do you think it's a message for you guys?
Well, no, I'm not feeling that, A. B, we are dual providers, so I can't say as the provider, but I am going to say that my male instinct is I don't want, if I have a choice in the matter, and I know the universe will provide when the universe provides, but I really don't want to be doing the 1-2 cha-cha-cha of do you have your mask and scrubs on so that we can go and get an ultrasound at the hospital, Pookster?
Yeah.
That just doesn't sound like the way to go.
Right.
Now, at some point, I'm just going to have to say, universe, you take care of it, you keep us safe. But I'd like at least initially.
Haven't you figured out, Michael, that you have no control over any of this?
I surrendered.
What is it going to take? You got a squirrel doing downward dog that's pregnant? What is it going to take? All right. So what else is happening with the Pookster since we're talking about dear Jessica?
She has a degree in organizational management. She used it. She went to the Peace Corps years ago, and she hasn't really. And she used to do marketing and some very high level work, but she never did this big team building stuff. And she has lit on fire. So we started Inspire Nation Corp this week, or Core, where we've got a whole bunch of volunteers coming together, and we're going to basically get thousands out on the street over time. We've got this huge positivity army that we're building. So if you're interested, reach out inspirenationshow.com/contact, our contact form. Let us know how you'd like to help. We're going to do some real good out there. And so she's putting teams together within building our show and getting our message out more, because the show has been just absolutely on fire. We're getting volunteers together, and she's playing this giant game of chess of how can we use the most amazing audience in the world. If you're listening, that's you. How can we use the most amazing audience in the world? I'm biased, to shift the planet, because it's a really, let's admit it, scary time, but that's partially because we're so unmoored. The old has fallen away. There's no going back to forgive me, everybody, to a pre-coronavirus world. Something new is being birthed, and it is our choice of what we want to make it. And so she is on fire. I'm doing everything I can. We've been doing either a show a day or at least a show and or class a day for the last 6 weeks.
Wow. That's a lot.
I'm a little bit tired, CJ.
And what's Michael doing for his own happiness aside from teaching these 7 days of classes?
I'm daydreaming of skating. I dusted off my inline skates. Here's a wheel right here.
Nice.
I've been brainstorming of what do I want for a little bit of an upgraded setup. And last year I couldn't skate much. When I got into the season last year, I got tendonitis going into skating
Uh,
season and didn't really skate all season, but then skied last winter and got into it more slowly, the skating this year, because skating, what is inline skating at the end of the day? It's like riding a bicycle uphill all the time without a saddle. You can't sit down.
the motion is different, right? I mean, you're going like it's a lateral right and left, right?
But it's actually, well, there's several planes. So you have a lateral motion that is a different plane
Right.
than you're cycling. But the rest of the movement is almost identical to cycling.
Interesting.
So, because the leg is going in and out, it's doing that pushing motion just as if you're on a bicycle.
Okay, I get it. It's just at a different plane.
Bingo.
Interesting. Okay.
And so I've been daydreaming what it's going to look like. Now, I, as a positive, if we can say it this way, and so I'm trying to look for the positives. And please, I'm not making light of this for any of us because so many, if you're listening, are struggling or don't have a job or don't have income. So I totally get it. And so I'm not making light of any of that. But I'm watching prices starting to be on a precipitous decline for things.
Mm,
And so, like, if I don't get exactly the skate thing I want, and I decided I'm going to hold off, but if I didn't get exactly the skate thing, it's one quarter of the price that it usually is.
wow.
And that's a
Wow.
big difference.
I
And
know.
so I'm daydreaming of what is it going to be? What is it going to look like? And so that's where I've been having what it's not that I'm not having fun right now. I enjoy our hikes in the backyard. We haven't gone driven anywhere. We've just stayed close to home. But I'm in apparently the service industry more than I realized, and I'm here to serve during this time,
Yay.
and that
Yeah.
brings me great joy.
Yeah. Wow. So that's what's giving you meaning. Going back to, I don't have our pre-sheet,
Well,
so I can't remember. I'm doing everything by
well,
memory.
sure. Let me give you this pre-sheet. What's giving me greatest meaning right now isn't the skating. The skating is the reason I love skating so much is because it is such a repetitive, smooth motion that it is very meditative of an experience.
Mm,
And there's a flow to it. And so that's bringing me greatest joy in a sense away from the work. But
mm,
work is giving me meaning upon meaning right now. How
mm,
can I serve? I read this week Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning from Auschwitz in World
mm,
War II.
mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the people who survived the Nazi concentration camps were people who had either meaning in the camp, meaning here's my day by day meaning and here's how I'm going to try to get through it, or they had love as meaning. They would think of a loved one, even if they knew he or she may not still exist anymore, but latching on to that love. Or like Viktor Frankl himself, who came in with a manuscript for his latest book and had it taken away from him within the first minute or
Mm,
two. Whenever he had a chance and had a scrap of paper, he would try to write anything down to remember it. And that gave him the meaning to go through. There's no food, there's no sleep, there's no warmth. His feet are so swollen and they're the norm that they won't even fit in the shoes that he couldn't even tie the laces if he wanted to. So he has to keep the socks out of the shoes and he's walking through the snow and on slave duty.
wow.
But having that meaning, and I think it was such also an important book to read at this time because as we're going through this, it gives some sense of perspective. Although I can't make light of this situation, it's what a time of paradox.
Mm,
In order to get incredibly light, we're being challenged in so many ways, but then we get to light up by finding how can I give back? How can I serve? What can I do for myself or my family or my future or a loved one or the community? And out of that, what can I do that I see people going to? And I'm not saying this isn't a time of beingness, but there is an element of if you want to come out of this in good stead, find meaning, assign meaning, ascribe meaning,
mm-hmm.
choose a meaning, any meaning.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this last week, and we had this debate back and forth. I think a kind debate, but I do think that it is about creating meaning, and I think that the meaning will come in many different shapes and forms, right? I think that for me, what I think the whole pandemic has caused is just a sense of what's really important in life and getting in tune with what those things may be. So I've talked to a lot of people who have kids at home that they're homeschooling, and like they're spending more time with their kids than they ever have. Like this last probably, month or so, they've spent more time with their kids than they have like for years, because they're two working parents. And as challenging as it is to homeschool and still conduct a full-time job, they're getting meaning out of that. And for me, I think for me, the meaning is coming in an odd shape. I mean, it's coming into not knowing and resting in equanimity in that. And that I'm a predisposed to go and do. And it's like, I'm not feeling it. But the meaning, I think that part of what I'm feeling, at least internally, is the signs are to go inside. Like, so in the Camino, there are these beautiful bright yellow signs, the color of your shirt outlined in blue. And they tell you which way to go. And every time I turn around, like what I'm supposed to do, quote unquote, is to go inside and not do anything, to just meditate.
Which is meaning.
Heal. Yeah, and to heal. And I think that I'm realizing that could actually be one of the big takeaways for folks, because when you're put under huge duress, right? We talk about some pivotal moment and where we have a life crisis of some sort in which we are pushed to really examine what's most important to us and then what's getting in the way, what fears are getting in the way. I think that for me, and I've noticed for a lot of other people, these are opportunities to kind of do some self-reflection and examination on what those things may be, so that you can have more meaning in your life. So I think it has lots of different expressions, because I have heard some people feeling frustrated because they don't know what to do, but sometimes doing maybe just being, like you had said earlier.
It's interesting because going back to Viktor Frankl, he said that the outer landscape of people's lives was completely torn apart, was completely ripped apart. I mean, you lost your clothes when you went in there in Auschwitz, and what you were given was somebody else's clothes who was just burned. And so your outer landscape is completely destroyed, ruined, everything taken away from you. But there became an inner richness, if you chose it. Because he said a lot of people, you could tell when they were going to pass on because they had given up. But if you chose to go on a journey into the inner landscape, there were incredible riches to be found that nobody could take away during that time. And I see that as a big part of this journey as well. I'm considering this right now a global detox, among other things. Everything's coming up from underneath.
Right.
Everything gets to be examined. If we're willing to step into those fires, and that it can be a huge meaning, and just sit, as you're saying, be with that. I think you're going to come out completely transformed and go, oh, I've got a challenge with this job. I get a challenge with this. I made it through the spring of 2020. Are you kidding me?
Right. It's true. I think it's giving you a sense of your inner reserves and what things don't. It's I took a class, a 1-week retreat last week. I'm retreating within my retreat. I'm like going in and in and in. And in the retreat, he was the teacher was talking about what happens at our birth and through the time when we're pre-verbal, like before we even can speak. There are all these kind of traumatic things that we don't actually even remember. They're kind of blocked memories, so to speak. They're traumas and memories that we have. And it's our relationship to the world. So, for example, mine is the leaving pattern. And this is actually Anna de Judith. And then also Stephen Kessler, she gets this work from him originally. But he talks about how people, when they incarnate into a body, that they haven't quite, and I'm mentioning only because I bet a lot of people on this that listen to the show may have this, that when you incarnate into a body, it's a kind of transitioning liminal stage between going from spirit to body, and during that time, if you startle during that transition, you learn the strategy of leaving and going up this way, your energy up towards the heavens,
Yep.
and wanting to go back towards spirit, where you're all one and everything. And so, what happens is people with a leaving pattern, that's what I have, basically go up and out with their energy as a defense for a world in which they feel is unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, there's another pattern which I think you may have, which is, I'm pretty sure you have this leaving, but I don't know. But the leaving pattern is the aggressive pattern is one in which, like, when this happens, you're like, life hits you and you're like, I'm going to armor up and fight this thing. It all relates to the fight, flight, freeze. So the other one is it's like this aggressive pattern where you're like, I'm going to go figure this out. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do this. It has that kind of energy, and the energy goes, it kind of goes out it's like this kind of strong and then going out, but the energy is still going outward. And it relates to when you were a child, really, again, pre-verbal, when you weren't getting your needs met. And so what you decided to do was, like, I guess I got to take care of everything myself. I'm out here on my own. I'm out here figuring stuff out, and I will, like, aggressively. And then they have all these different patterns. Anyways, what I realized about this pattern and how these things apply to what's happening right now, is like, I think at a very primal level, our trust for the earth, our trust in life, our trust in what's known is being thrown up in the air. And when that happens, our energy and our desire to deal with things go in different ways. One is like this, one is like here, one is to, like, freeze and endure. So we have all different kinds of patterns, and it has been interesting to just think about what I'm noticing about my pattern is that I'm picking up all sorts of energies that aren't even mine. I am like...
Yeah. I'm with you.
Sponge, picking up stuff that is not mine, but because I'm so unresourced, because I'm stressed, even though I'm meditating every day, I'm getting stressed. Like, every day I talk to someone, or I'm working with a client, or I'm doing something, I'm listening to the news, and, like, all this vibratory energy, even if I don't even leave the house, you can feel the energy coming in and absorbing into all of your pores. And so I've been contemplating, as my teacher had mentioned, this idea of when you heal, if you are in fact picking up energy, you have a gift that you can actually sense and empathize with other people. And the gift of this, and I bet a lot of the people in your Inspire Nation Corps have this, is that the gift is that because you can feel things so deeply, when you heal these things within yourself, when you have the courage to heal those things, it's actually helping the greater whole. So even if you can't go out, let's say that you can't go out for whatever, you're older, you can't go out because it's unsafe, all those different things. Even, I think, just meditating, figuring out, like, let's say that fear or loneliness or whatever is coming your way, going inside, figuring out the root cause of that and sending love to that sends not only love to yourself, but everyone else. So that's one thing. Just a different way of, just for people to not put pressure on them to go out and do, because they may not be able to, or maybe for whatever reason they can't.
No, this inner journey is as much of a finding meaning. It's not necessarily going, I shall save the world. It can be, what can I do on my inner journey? What can I do with just being? That, anything that we choose as a meaning. If you say, I want to become, okay, have fun with it. I want to become a professional shoelace tire.
Right.
That's perfect. Anything that you ascribe meaning in this time. But now going in on an inner journey, I think, is incredibly important right now. That's the work we've been doing with our boot camps, is how can we transmute this energy? How can we look at what the wounds are? Heck, I had a dream last night or something where I woke up this morning regretting how my first relationship had ever ended, like 25 plus years ago.
Right.
The field of energy is bringing everything up so that we can heal at a deeper level.
Yep.
Saying, I just want to heal or be sane at this time, but choosing that as a a carrot way out there, but something I can work on way in here in this moment, changes everything. It completely shifts your energetic state.
Yeah, it's interesting because you know how you talk about magnetizing things, right? So if there's fear out there, and if you have fear in here, which for me, I still have fear. It's not like I'm fearless and like just walk around with no fear and in love all the time. But like when fear hits, it hits it like tries to find a sticking point here, and then I go, okay, have it. Okay, I'm feeling fear, and then I have to sit and think, wait, is this my fear? Or is this like a magnet that has magnetized the fear towards me? And regardless, I have to resolve it one way or another. And if I can resolve it for myself, chances are I'm resolving it for the greater whole. So this is one thing you can do energetically to help society in ways that, is it measurable? No, but I have a feeling that it still makes a tremendous difference.
Maybe it is measurable. That's a good question. So I know I'll have Howard Martin back on the show here soon, founder of, or co-founder of HeartMath, and HeartMath has set up across the world 28 or 29, maybe many more than that, sensors now to measure the heart coherence of the planet. And so I look at this as a giant field, as we are all one, we are all part of an electromagnetic field, whatever we want to call it, and where you see the news going dark, 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 we can pump back in, I'm convinced, light, 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 light. So at other times in life, I have said that maybe being a monk in the Himalayas isn't the answer. We need to be out in the world. Maybe first off, I was wrong. Maybe now more than ever, we get to monk down and be in our cave in the Himalayas and pump as much love and light into ourselves, which we are portals into the field. You could imagine a grid and with like black holes there of energy getting to go in or come out, and we can literally pump back into the field just by working on ourselves. So I think working on yourself can be the greatest way to help the planet of them all in this time. I believe that truly shifts energy.
Yeah.
And we need that, and we get to have, and we are, I'm convinced, having an energetic state change. Where it goes is up to how many of us decide to do the work.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
No pressure.
This is this is the book that I was reading. It's called The Empath Evolution, or Evolutionary Empath. And that empaths like ourselves who feel things, this is our mission, you know, the mission to, what are you smiling about?
If you could see, the Pookster has snuck into the studio and is throwing the love bug from side to side. Because the love bug called her in to leave the studio and then said, I don't want to leave the studio, Mommy. You'll come in the studio and play with me during the interview. And so I'm trying to watch you. And there's this cat just flying from side
I
to
think the love bug is the evolutionary empath, right? Like, talk about
the love
animals.
bug is the evolutionary empath.
Yeah, it's like animals that, like, basically they're contributing to the field just by, I mean, this is not just for humans. I think it's
New York City, for the first time in the history of New York City, I was reading this morning, because I counterbalance. So if I go into the news, I'll put that in quotes, I will then go look for positive stories. And so there is where they, like an animal shelter where they bring animals, they can't find their owner. These are like, I don't know, maybe it's like the death's doorstep animal shelter. These animals aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
They have all, as of yesterday, for the first time in the history of this place, all been adopted out in New York City. Every single one of them.
Wow.
Yay! That's finding meaning, is bringing love into the home at this time.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Well, you know, I was thinking about there's a book by Aaron Hurst, and he was talking about the purpose in life. And in this book, he breaks down meaning in like this very precise way in terms of like, who are you trying to serve? Individuals? Are you trying to impact individuals? Systematic change, organizational change? Like, get clear with who it is that you want to serve. And then what is it that you're trying to do, and then what thing brings you happiness? So it could be like this one woman was making chocolate chip cookies. Like she brought happiness by making chocolate chip cookies and desserts. Like, that's how she found meaning.
Beautiful.
Another one found meaning through community. So basically, she created a vineyard where all of her family members lived on this vineyard together, and that was what felt most meaningful to her. Whereas other people find meaning like, I'm helping, kind of when I think traditional folks think about meaning, it's like I helped found a nonprofit that helps blah blah blah, those kinds of things. But meaning can be in many, many, many different forms. And so I encourage folks when they think about meaning not to think of like, oh, I got to start a new nonprofit, I have to go work at a food bank. I have to, all those things are beautiful and wonderful, but there are lots of different ways to find meaning beyond just the ones that I think we traditionally think as meaningful.
And I'm going to go with the craziest meaning of them all. There are a lot of people right now. I mean, both the Pookster and I, speaking for ourselves, even if we weren't go all the time, we're feeling exhausted from the field of energy. It sounds like you're being spun by the field. I'm sleeping, or in bed at least 10 hours a night, which is my usually 6-hour guy who will stay in there over 7, is just bizarrely unusual. And then I'm just exhausted. There can be tremendous meaning in going, I am so overwhelmed by this energy. My whole job right now is to turn the dimmer down as low as I can and just be. And not worry about doing anything about this time, because I don't want to saddle, like you don't want to either, say, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. It may be that just being in the experience, but consciously choosing, that's what we're talking about. Meaning comes from a choice, constantly choosing that, all right, energy is on max. My job right now is to just be, period. Done deal. End of story. Don't need to make my cookies. Don't need to put on my smiley face mask. Don't need to go to the Inspire Nation Corps. Yes, you do.
That's the only thing you must do.
Yes. Subliminal. Join. Help. But if you just take care of yourself on the most basic level, but that's a choice. There's a big difference, because right now people are feeling, the majority, I believe, and I could be wrong, but the pulse of the people that I'm working with is feeling very helpless. Mm-hmm. I feel very much like my control has been ripped away from me. My life has been ripped away from me. I may feel manipulated. I may feel unsafe during this time, but I don't feel I have any control, and it's overwhelming. If you choose in this to say, all right, I'm going to, and this is what I get out of my automatic writing right now, power down so that I can keep energy in the tanks for whatever comes next, and allow myself to just be on the couch or have my bonbons or watch my Netflix. Why do they have to give us such bad movies now of all time?
I know, there's so many like pandemic movies. I'm like, really?
It's either pandemic movies or it's bad 80s comedies where they have to pay the smallest amount of commission, or black and white movies. I love a good black and white, but there's somebody, some bean counter somewhere is going, captive audience, don't need to give them the good stuff.
I was running through the when I was running through the forest where I live, I thought, oh, I'm supposed to, like, instead of listening to this like inspiring whatever talk from this teacher, I'm supposed to listen to this music. And the Beatles, nothing's gonna change my world. Yeah. Nothing's gonna change. And I was listening going, what? And I thought, what is the meaning of this song? And then I thought, no, actually what I was doing is like, what is the meaning of the song I'm running? Nothing's gonna, and I thought, what is
the inner landscape?
Yeah, it's like, how can your inner landscape and your place of equanimity stay even in this crazy, like, nothing is going to change. Nothing's going to change my world. Like, and I thought, okay, how has my world has completely turned upside down. And actually, before this all happened, my intention for this time was to go inside and tune in. And I was like, okay, like, if I can just stay true to what I had planned to beginning, yes, I can't go out to, a lot of the different things. I can't visit with people. I can't whatever. I can't do all these things. But how can you still do what you're meant to do in a place in your internal frame, not really changing? Like, we could be conceivably in this situation for quite a while, and how can you, and here's one thing, I think we talked about this last week about that famous the spiritual story about like this guy. It's a Taoist story about a guy who, okay,
Farmer, son,
yeah,
horses.
exactly. And the idea is like you just never know, right? Like I said, my son's internship got canceled, so he was without a job amongst a bunch of other students whose internships just got canceled, or people with internships that were now remote and like the people aren't really sure what to do. And so I was like, oh no, your internship got canceled. Oh my gosh. And then what happened is he was able to work on a project that he had, a coding project that he was working on. I'm like, well, that's exciting. And then he was working on another project, and that project just got funded by the university. So, and they're going to recruit
Oh,
hundreds of students to like help work on this organization that my son is part of the executive team on and help hundreds of students. And then they decided as to send an email to Jeff Bezos, and he's like, yes, I'm in, and I'm going to help provide mentorship. This thing has materialized in literally 24 hours. This thing, which was like nothing, I'm like, I don't know what to do. He turned down a job offer from another company, a potential interview from another company because he had this other internship. Then they canceled on him, and I mean, his whole life was like this. And like I could never have imagined that this thing would have turned into mentorship, getting paid, working with Amazon, guaranteeing jobs. I mean, it's just like I just I just can't even fathom like how does this happen? I don't know. I mean, it feels like the world is over, and actually woke up on Thursday. This all happened. No, I woke up on Thursday morning, and I woke up at 4, completely stressed out about what are going to happen to my kids and how will they ever find jobs in this world. And then I thought, okay, this is not a good state. You're picking up fear from the general public. And then I sat down and I meditated for an hour and a half. And then in the course of that day, all these things, I mean, literally the day it's now Friday afternoon and the world has completely changed. And I think you just don't know. You never know.
you don't know, and I think
Still have no internet. I'm on my phone. I surrender. You could see it coming.
No, I was like, oh, he said that there was like snow coming down on his roof. I guess he lost his electricity.
No, we've got electricity. No internet though.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.